Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Suzerain Kingdom of Rizia, where last turn uh, we signed a new deal with Palais. We finalized the deal with Palais for the Aureus gas field. We are bringing in a shit ton of energy. I do want to get our economy better. We sold the submarines to get some money, and with that, we built the Consumer Industry Park. We started building Consumer Industry Park and the hospital. Unfortunately, that left us with not enough authority to do all of the things that I wanted to do. I ended up not doing any of the big things, but there's always next turn. Okay, new Consumer Industries Park begins construction in Salabes. Brazilian's reign's former queen's surprise attendance elevates sovereign memorial commemoration. Okay, time to go to the next turn. The gold mine should also be nearing completion, so that should give us a positive. That should affect positively on our budget. The art of war. Uh-oh, sounds ominous. Oh, hello. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of new money. Okay, we are exporting 3 gas to Morella. Okay, that's where that went. But that's cool. Yeah, basically all of the gas from the Aureus gas field. Yeah, we're exporting the gas to all the gas from Aureus to Morella. That's fine, and we're making a lot of money. Kalos Gold Mine is making us 2. Palace Trade +1. We're getting 3 gold from Morella. This is amazing. I wish we were getting more authority per turn now, so we could do more things. As part of ever-growing trade relations between the two countries, new constructed more gas pipeline overs between Port Trazon and Cavette. Excellent. What? Okay, introduce religion to the House of Delegates. To change the traditional protocol to the House of Delegates by inviting Grand Vicemen select they should take part in the sessions. No. I want to go on a secular. I want to take a secular approach, not going on religion. Velen deploying special force to Vernon. Genociding the Bloods. I see. Okay. Sufficient budget right now. Gonna leave that to after. Yeah, this I want to do immediately. Okay, let's wait until the end of the turn so we know how much we have to spend, and it doesn't affect our decisions. Okay, once more I took my seat next to Hugo in the middle of the House of Delegates. My uncle watched with agitation as the representatives began filling into the room. Your first visit to House of Delegates since the RPP took over as majority party. Hope they behave themselves in front of their king. Their movement is undeniable now. Perhaps we should start listening to them. Throw them a scrap or two, but we can't let them have the whole roast. Gavel banged. Manes Saz, on position behind the House Speaker podium, carefully put the wooden mallet aside. As the majority speaker of the House of Delegates, I hereby call this session to order. He bowed in my direction. Thank you for coming, Your Majesty. Daria forced a smile from behind the opposition podium. Yes, on behalf of both of our parties, your presence is much appreciated. She nodded at Manus, who flipped open a binder. The first item on our agenda is an update on Zilla. My constituents, especially those in Brennas, are eagerly awaiting the end of the Zilla Agreement's 3-year probationary period and the return of our land. Thankfully, the trade deal seems to be proceeding as planned. Daria put up a hand. If and when the territory is finally returned, there are questions about how it should be reincorporated into Rizia. What question, Mr. Dorava, Zilla has always been part of the province of Brenna. That may be true, but in the interests of stability, reincorporating it under Rizia Imperi's jurisdiction is the obvious choice. It is the same reason why the Palais Administrative District has not yet rejoined Cardes and Monteclar. That decision was due to ongoing border difficulties. Zilla faces no such danger. How can you say that after the Friendship Day incident? There is no telling what Velen will do, even if Zilla is returned without a fight. At this stage, Velen will not want to risk damaging our agreement, and if they do, my province can handle it. The volume in the room grew louder as the delegates began arguing amongst themselves. I turned to Hugo. Shouldn't Zilla's citizens decide for themselves who governs them? Don't go with that route, Your Majesty. Holding any kind of election in Zilla opens the door for Velen to interfere. Eventually, Mana's motions for order. The delegates quieted down. Moving on to more pressing topics. Next to the agenda is a discussion regarding the current religious climate in Rizia. I must mention the growing pressure from Bloodish and Durdian communities to lift our so-called blasphemy law. They point to it as an evidence that the Crown discriminates against Kolkondism. Okay, yeah, lifting the blasphemy law has long been on my agenda. I will make it my priority. Granting all citizens an equal right to worship should be a great step forward for freedom in Rizia. On the other hand, I understand public concerns about legitimizing what some see as an extremist sect. There are those who are worried that if Rizia grants more rights to Golcondas, the kingdom will fall victim to the same ideologies as Durdia. Sure, even if the blasphemy law is revoked, Rizia will never turn into Durdia. Yes, I also believe these fears are unfounded. The benefits of revoking the law outweigh the drawbacks. To end on a more positive note, the House of Delegates is pleased to report that the Rizian public has a favorable opinion of the Crown. Living standards for the lower classes have improved, our energy stores are no longer a cause for anxiety, and Rizians of foreign descent are finally beginning to gain the same rights and privileges as everyone else in this country. Satisfaction among our workers is higher than ever. Overall, our government cannot rest on our laurels. We are still trying to make up for hundreds of years of inequality. Objections. You speak of the improvement a lot of commoners while ignoring the businesses and noble institutions that make up the beating heart of this kingdom. Sure. Very good point. Tell me, Miss Dorava, what do the rich and famous think of me? As it happens, they're quite satisfied with your reign thus far, but fail to even mention them. I didn't mention them because they're doing just fine. They always have been. Now, my party, which I will remind you is the majority, has suggested a number of proposals to further improve the status of ordinary Rizians. Very good, I'll have another look at them. That is all we ask. Manus closed the binder and looked up. That concludes today's session, unless, of course, His Majesty had any closing remarks. In fact, I do. House Speaker Sazon, esteemed delegates. Delegates were all listening closely to me. I thank you for bringing my attention to the plight of the less fortunate in my kingdom. You can expect prompt action from the Crown regarding the matters you brought up today. See you for dinner at ours next week. Thank you, and glorious acts are Rizia. Hugo and the delegates repeated the phrase. My uncle and I remain seated and the session adjourned. Ah, so everybody loves me. That's a relief. Be careful, Your Majesty. You cannot afford to fall into complacency. He picked up his attaché case and paused to look at me. Oh no, I'm about to piss off a lot of people. It's good that we're starting high instead of low. It's been a while since the two of us caught up. I hope you'll do me the honor of paying me a private visit once you're back from your trip to Dordia. If you have something to say to me, you should say it here. There are some matters that are best kept in the family. Hugo rose and bowed. Until then, Your Majesty. I stayed in my seat until the room was completely empty. Was Manus right? Was my public happy with my reign? And if he was, where would I go from here? On one thing I do agree with Hugo. We should not let ourselves be complicit. Funding resistance in Zilla. Okay, I don't like spending money because I need it, but sure, we'll get it next turn. Just wanted to do things this turn. Increase funding to Ariana Taurus Association. We'll keep pressure the peaceful route. Chill Sports 288. Unruly Mob disrupts peace in Isa. This kid needs to go. When can I ship him off to Velen to get executed? Tried for his crimes. Rizia and 38 Golden Kingdom meets the Silver Garrison. Morning in the palace. Early in the morning, I heard a soft tap on the door to my bat chambers. It was Pavel coming to wake me at my usual time. Good morning, Your Majesty. I hope you slept well. There was a tinge of sadness in his voice. What's going on, Pavel? Are you all right? I'm fine, thanks for asking. He began open my curtains, then stopped and spoke to me in a forced, casual tone. How are preparations going for your royal visit to Durdia? Sure, I hope this is a joke. To the island of blasphemous lunatics, you mean? I couldn't be more excited. Lunatics, Your Majesty? I was joking. He paused again as if... Oh, okay, so he didn't take it as a joke. He paused again as if in deliberation. Finally, he walked over to the chair next to my bed and sat down. I don't know if you're aware, but many Rizians of my persuasion have fled to Durdia since its establishment as a colonist republic. It's one of the only places in Mercopa where relations between members of the same sex are accepted. Okay, so he is going on what I expected it. It is actually a fascinating contradiction. How can such an extremist society allow homosexuality? Colcondists view intimacy between men as the most sacred form of love. They say it strengthens bonds on the battlefield. As for women, as long as they accept their role as providers and childbearers, they may consort amongst themselves if they wish. You can be gay as long as you're also misogynist. Fuck's sake. It's not perfect, but I understand the desire to live openly among fundamentalists rather than cower behind closed doors. Uh, yes, I agree with this, with the first part of this sentence, but yeah, something must be done to improve the status of your kind, here at home. I am happy you agree, and the sooner the better. He tossed the morning paper onto my bed. Look at the bottom of the first page. Man 33 beaten to death in Monqui prison. The deceased was identified as Mateos Montalvo, a courier for the Cantuavo vineyards. Montavlo had recently been jailed and dismissed from his job after engaging in suspected homosexual activity with a client. Did you know him? Do all gay people know themselves? With a client, was he mad? If he's mad, then so am I. We had an encounter sometime before your coronation. Clearly neither his first nor last. I warned him to be more careful, but until homosexuality is no longer a crime in Rizia, people like him, like me, are going to keep dying. Okay, I've been wanting to get rid of that law since I was king, but I'm afraid I don't have the authority. It is a challenge, I know, not even Queen Liza dared to imagine it. But Rizia is ready now. Dusners will hate it, though. What am I supposed to tell Rumberg? Isn't Queen Beatrice a proponent of secularization? She'll understand the need to separate state laws from religious ones. It's not just about what I want. This is a universal struggle. Think of the example you'd be setting for the rest of the world. You're right. I have an historic opportunity. I've got to seize it while I still can. The sooner you do, the more lives will be saved. He stood up. I'm late to oversee breakfast. I'll leave you to dress yourself. I'm sorry about your lover. Thank you. He bowed and swiftly left the room. After taking a moment to collect my thoughts, I dressed and headed downstairs to breakfast. I mean, that is decree available, decriminalizing homosexuality. Excellent. For authority. Fuck. That is expensive. It's not gonna let me do much. We'll see. If I want to do other things that will require authority. Deepening involvement in Vendosian civil war. The war intensifies. Monarchist forces under Prince Consort. Major offensive. Request for Rizzian support. Okay, what do we have? Okay, it doesn't really tell me. Sure, let's provide our support. Where do I see how many how we are in airstrikes? Didn't really tell me. Anti-intervention protests in Monquise Harbor. I mean, we need to keep up alliances, even if I don't want to support them. King stepping up military assistance to besiege monarchy. Vendosian civil war escalates. Rizia to provide our support. I mean, they are our allies. We have to. United Cantones Congress address the State of the Union and revolutionary expansion. Okay, standing on a remote mountain plateau outside of Nile, the Silver Garrison was the headquarters of the Durdian government, as well as the dwelling palace of its leader, Supreme Wiseman Yorga Azmal. For our meeting today, Azmal had granted me the rare permission to enter his inner sanctum. After a lengthy drive up steep. Huh? I don't understand. I don't know if I understand that sentence, but okay, I should have continued reading. Then I would have understood. Steep curving roads. Our motorcade parked just outside the garrison's gates. Titus and I met Sal as we exited our respective vehicles. I confess that I do not know what to expect, Your Majesty. I have studied Golconda's compounds like these excessively, but never been allowed inside. Thinking of converting, Grand Wiseman? Never. I still dream of the day where our brethren return to the fold. The heaven gates swung open, and a group of Azmal guards ushered us inside. The garrison grounds were much larger than I would have guessed, almost the size of Port Drazon's old town. A gleaming silver pillar rose up from the center, surrounded by a cluster of administrative and religious buildings. Greenhouses, storage silos, and living quarters lined the perimeter, separated from the inner circle by a clear natural stream. The first residents we saw were women in identical white dresses, drawing water from the stream and carrying baskets of vegetables to and from the greenhouses. These are seekers, Your Majesty. It is said that through their physical labor, they will gain the mental clarity they need to begin their pursuit of Golconda. And the fact that there are no men amongst them is coincidence? Not at all, Your Majesty. Women in Dirty and Golconda's communities are often limited to the seeker role, while men are permitted to advance. As the guards led us closer to the pillar, these sounds of men's voices could be heard, short, sharp shouts emitted in perfect unison. The disciples, they practice purification of the spirit through strict martial arts regimens. And where are the adepts? Hard at work, I expect. They make up the majority of Azmal's council. We emerged into the center of the garrison. In front of the pillar was a training ground the size of a football field, flanked on either side by white marble temples. On it, some 4 dozen men were engaged in combat drills. Titus watched in open admiration as they executed a complex choreography of strikes, blocks, and counterattacks, each punctuated by a forceful cry. The gong chimed in the distance. Almost instantly, the disciples spread out to form a perfect circle around us. Yorga Ismail, dressed in the same robes I'd seen him wear at the Alliance of Nations, stepped out from their midst. Welcome to the Silver Garrison, Your Majesty. Sure. Thank you for the demonstration, Supreme Wiseman. The skills of your disciples is admirable indeed. You still have far to go, but thank you. His smile curled as he turned to Sal. So, Grand Wiseman, we finally meet. I have been looking forward to it, Supreme Wiseman. Shall I lead us in a Ruhika's prayer ceremony? For this special occasion, I had something different in mind, a traditional Dirdian duel of generosity. Sal's face turned white. Sure, it would be a great privilege to participate in your holy tradition. We are in their home, we should act accordingly. You're familiar with our custom, even better. No weapons, no bloodshed, each leader represented by a champion of his choosing. He spread his arms wide. Talum Esari Zirak Nalin. The circle of men flattened out into a long line. Azmal slowly walked from one end to the other, then back to the middle. He stood in front of a particularly tall, well-built disciple and bowed. The man took a step forward and returned the gesture. I will be represented by Loran. His participation in this duel shall be his final challenge before his ascension to the rank of adept. The rest of the disciples applauded. Saul politely followed suit. Asmal turned towards Titus. My bodyguard tensed up instinctively. Captain Gordian, I have heard tales of your fighting prowess both before and after you began serving the king. Am I to assume that you have brought this man as your champion, Your Majesty? I mean, I kind of want to serve as my own champion. I gotta admit. Yes, let's do it. What the fuck? Oh, I shall serve as my. I will serve as my own champion. Everyone went silent for a second. A brave proposition, Your Majesty. This man looks like trouble, even for me. Got to respect my hosts, right? What could be more respectful than stepping into the ring myself? If you insist, sir, I will be standing at the ready in case you need help. Oh, I'm thoroughly expecting to get my ass kicked. but I am hoping that they will respect the fact that I fought myself. This is highly unorthodox, Your Majesty. But of course, so is most of Galconism. As Mal cleared his throat, cleared his throat. We and the disciples stopped speaking. As His Majesty has declared, so it will be. The King of Rizia will duel against my champion. Each fighter will now have 5 minutes to prepare. Loran nodded his assent and walked away. He knelt on a patch of grass and raised his arms skyward in prayer, his face a mask of concentration. Any advice, Titus? My bodyguard spoke in a near whisper. From the experience I saw earlier, I noticed a slight weakness on this man's right side, so punch with your left arm if you can. Short while later, another gong sounded. The disciple formed a tight circle around me and the man Jorge Asmal had called Loran. The Supreme Wiseman stepped between us. The duel will last 10 minutes or until one opponent acknowledges the other's superior skill in combat. Should a fighter draw blood, the duel will be called off immediately. Its results void before the Lord. If you will bow to one another and the duel will commence. He stepped back into the circle. Okay, if I can last the 10 minutes, that will be great. Back into the circle, he and the disciples began a slow, deep-voiced chant in Dirdian as Loran and I bowed to each other. The moment we began sparring, it was obvious I was outmatched. Loran moved with fluid unpredictability. His blows seemed to come out of nowhere, but landed with tactical precision. The closest thing I'd perceive as combat training was a few fencing lessons as a teen. More often than not, I skipped them to spend time with Pavel. Yet somehow, miraculously, I was holding my own against the Dirdian fighter. Left jab. I threw a jab with my left hand and hit his shoulder, and he staggered backwards slightly with a smile. That one was for Rizia. We continued sparring, Loran mostly dodging my blows with ease, but occasionally allowing one or two to land. Yeah, stop holding back. Show me how a real disciple fights. I mean, don't hold back out of just because I'm the king. Just fight me like you'd fight anyone else. That's why I'm doing this in the first place. Come on. Loran smiled uncomfortably. He stepped back and performed a flashy spin kick that missed my face by just a few centimeters. The 10 minutes were almost up. My opponent turned his back briefly to prepare for his next move. That's the thing. Would they see this as disrespectful? I think they would. I should take the punch and concede. Maybe hitting him when he's off guard. They might see that as disrespectful. Then again, he did open it up. So take the punch and concede. I allowed his punch to land on my ribcage. I allowed myself to fall on the ground, holding my hands up as a sign of concession. Asmal signaled for the circle to stop chanting. He gleefully applauded. "You fought beautifully, Your Majesty. This bodes well for our two countries." Hey, promise the generous. Participate in a Dirdian duel of generosity and lose. And you, my champion, will make a fine adept. I also did not want to defeat him and ruin his chances of becoming an adept. I don't know if they're required to win, but I'm guessing they are. He took his disciple hands and kissed him tenderly on the lips. The surrounding crowd erupted into cheers. Titus looked around uneasily. "Is that normal here?" Yes. "Unfortunately, Captain Gordian, it is." Fuck you. Sal grimaced. "Saint Ruhek would despair at what they have done to his sacred teachings. Do you not agree, Your Majesty?" Personally, I find the glorification of violence more disturbing than the sight of two men smooching. Both are a mockery of Ruhekist values. We turned our attention back to Asmal. The disciples had begun to disperse. An auspicious start to our meeting. This way, please. Titus stood outside as Saul and I followed the Supreme Wise Man through a door at the base of the pillar. A staircase led down to a softly lit room, its walls lined floor to ceiling with bookshelves. There were no tables or chairs, just a number of comfortable-looking cushions on the carpet floor. Asmal gestured for us to sit. This is the very heart of the garrison, Your Majesty. I never make a political decision without consulting the teachings of Saint Rupert. Sh- I'm not. Let's not antagonize the theocracy. I would not presume to have your religious wisdom, but I do often seek the advice of Grand Viceman Ignatius. Sal nodded solemnly. We in Rizia find that the dual burden of spiritual and political leadership is too great for one soul to shoulder alone. I'm afraid your Grand Wiseman has been giving you flawed advice. I don't know how else to explain the treatment of Golcondas in your country. Yeah, perhaps I have been harsh on Golcondas in the past. I am willing to make amends. Your words will only have meaning when they are followed with actions. Asmal crossed his arms. You would not have come here today if you did not want something from me. But first, we must discuss your so-called blasphemy law. His eyes were fixed on Saul. The Ark sanctuaries of Plavo, Benivon, and Yalas are three of the most sacred sites in the Ruhikas religion. It is not fair that my people are denied access to them. When you were allowed to enter them, you crowded out the real Ruhikists, to the point of damaging one of our precious sanctuaries. If you wish to limit the flow of visitors to your sanctuaries, we will not oppose that. But I suspect your law has never been only about overcrowding. I'm actually agree with that. Sal sat upright. It is no secret that the majority of Ruhikism leaders regard Golkondism as a taint on our religion. Calm the fuck down, Saul. A taint? Golkondism has millions of practitioners, all of whom would testify that we are following the one true path Saint Ruhak laid out for us. Doesn't it? Sure, let's push back a tiny bit. Doesn't enlightenment through violence directly contradict Ruhak's teachings? Not violence, as Ruhak wrote. One must hone the discipline of the body as well as the spirit to guard and guide the virtues bestowed by the divine. Yet in the quiet whisper of peace, truth and righteousness take root and flourish. Don't you see you're both right? Both men glared at each other. We agree on many other things, Supreme Wiseman. Can we not get around this somehow? If you do not lift this ban, any relationship Dirdia has with Rizia, will be strictly transactional in nature, if that. My people have mined your gold, built your weapons, extracted your gas, yet they are barred from their religion's holiest of places. I don't like any of these. Sure, it's not Third Labor's worried about solely pilgrims. I don't like any of those options, but I should have repealed the ban before coming, I guess. Laborers and pilgrims alike pray to the same God, Your Majesty. You cannot judge Durgians only by the value they provide to your kingdom. I know the strife Rizia is facing. If you would see reason lift this unjust ban, there is much we in Durdia can do to help you. Sure. Can you promise that your people will respect the rule of law in Rizia whether or not it clashes with Kolkondism? I cannot control what Durdians do in your country, but I will help you preserve order at the three Ark sanctuaries to the extent that I am able. Sal looked at me with warning in his eyes. You tread dangerous path, Your Majesty. I do not know where Rizia can tolerate an influx of Golcondists. Okay. Thankfully, we didn't spend the authority, so we can do this now. We must respect our fellow Ruhikis. Believe Supreme Wiseman, my kingdom will do as you ask. Thank you, Your Majesty. Saul struggled to keep his expression neutral. I'll give you the order to our archbishops. Your people can expect entrance to Plavo, Benivon, and Yalis within the week. I will not forget this act of compassion, Grand Wiseman. My people thank you. Yes, well, may the Lord be with them. Asmal solemnly turned to me. Now, Your Majesty, what is it you want? I wish to strengthen the ties between our two nations. Asmal's eyes lit up. I would welcome the chance for Dardia to grow closer to our Rizian brothers. In fact, I was hoping to speak with you about an energy partnership. I don't really have that much energy to sell. I hear you have sold oil and gas to other Mercopan countries. Perhaps you would be willing to ship it to us across the Gulf of Meridia. Yeah, to be frank, we need your diplomatic support more than we need you to buy our energy. Diplomatic support from a country with rolling blackouts is not... I'm not sure how much that's worth, Your Majesty. But we will endeavor to support you however we can. May Saint Ruhek bless our bond. From now through eternity. Is there anything else you would ask of me? I might, yeah. Maybe let's dip our feet into the waters of fuckery. We are at risk of losing the territory of Zilla to Velen. I would humbly call upon your great warrior culture for assistance. He seemed pleased. We are happy to help our brethren. Our mercenaries have been helping win wars since the days of the Empire of Moridia. You saw my disciples earlier. Imagine a larger team, just as trained, wielding sophisticated weaponry and stealth technology. Can they be relied on to fight for the Rizian crown? They will fight for what they believe in, Your Majesty. Normally, Dardia would charge you for their services, but my disciples are eager to help Rizia reclaim its land from the anti-Golcondas Vesex. So they may do so if they wish, but I don't want them harming civilians. That's gonna come back to bite me in the ass, isn't it? That is not our way, Your Majesty. Is there anything else you would ask of me? I would not ask anything more of you, Supreme Wiseman. Then we are done. For today, that is. We stood and made our way back up the stairs. The sun was still shining brightly as we emerged from the base of the pillar. Outside, Titus was sitting by himself, his eyes on the group of disciples exercising some distance away. On seeing me, he rose and snapped to attention. Your Majesty, shall we go? Yeah, no rush. We're among friends. Asmal reached out his hand to me. You are welcome back to the garrison anytime, Your Majesty. And you are welcome at Pala Resna. The sounds of sung hymns and clashing swords accompanied us as we made our way out of the compound. Okay, excellent. I wanted to enact that law, but I did not want to spend that much authority on this turn. Okay, blasphemy law revoked. Rizia and Dardia unlikely partners. Okay, did I get did the mercenaries show up here? Not yet. Okay. Is there anything that will give me more authority? Nope. Not here. Nothing here. Okay, nothing you can do here. And nothing here. Okay. Am, however, not extremely happy that we are running very low on our energy. Industrial production is taking up a lot of energy, and I want to increase industrial production. But yeah, meeting with Hugo is going to have to wait for the next episode. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. Please do hit that like button, subscribe, and do leave a comment down below. I will see you all next time.